We all know the horror story. A family moves into a home where a grisly murder took place, only to start noticing something a little supernatural about the place. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, there's still something creepy about living in a house where people were brutally killed. But you don't have to run a movie to find a murder house. In fact, you could move into one today. The JonBenet Ramsey House. The home of 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey was a place of happiness and laughter until tragedy struck in 1996. Little JonBenet was struck on the head and then strangled in a murder case that remains unsolved to this day. The house where she lived in Colorado was vacant for years until it was purchased by Carol Schuler Milner, the daughter of televangelist Robert Schuler. It was relisted in 2014 for $1.9 million. So far, it appears that no one's willing to buy the house where the grisly murder of a child took place. 9. The Camden Ripper House. The Camden Ripper was the alter ego the press gave to Anthony Hardy, a serial killer who murdered 3 women in his flat in North London before he was caught. Unlike his namesake, Jack the Ripper, he was quickly brought to justice after making one fatal mistake. He threw the various body parts of his victims into the trash near his flat. A homeless man was rummaging through the garbage bin one day when he discovered a pair of human legs inside. Hardy preyed on prostitutes before being sent to jail for life in 2003. The flat where he lived is now rented by several tenants who presumably know all about the man who used to call it home. What perhaps makes this crime all the scarier is the recent time frame in which it happened. It's entirely possible to look at the walls and imagine the killer seeing the same view. 8. The Crossbow Cannibal House. Azarias Fontaine is a student in Bradford, England, who's renting a flat at a bargain price. He pays just £360 a month, which is excellent value for a full flat in a big student area. But there's a reason why Fontaine is getting away with living there so cheaply. He's living in the home of Stephen Griffiths, the Crossbow Cannibal. Griffiths killed and dismembered 3 women in the bath of the property. Then he moved the remains into the kitchen where he cooked and ate them. Fontaine had to be told about the dark past of the flat before he signed the lease, but he had no problem with the idea. Since the bathroom and the kitchen have been refurbished, he believes that the scene of the crime no longer really exists. Still, his mother claims to have felt a spirit touch her on the shoulder while she was visiting her son's home. 7. The Gardette-Laprete House. This New Orleans house was first purchased by Jean-Baptiste Laprete in the 1830s. Laprete rented the property to a rich Turkish man who was rumored to be the brother of a sultan. He became known for holding parties that would run late into the night. One such party ended in horror, however. Blood trickling down the front steps alerted the local authorities to a potential crime, and when they forced their way inside, they found all the party guests mutilated and dismembered. The Turk had been buried alive in the courtyard. After this grisly event, the house fell into disrepair. It was abandoned and crumbling by the 1960s, but was bought and restored by Frank D'Amico and Anthony Vesich Jr. in 1966. D'Amico's wife lived in the penthouse apartment while they restored the house, and she claimed to have seen the ghost of a man standing at the foot of the bed. This creepy house is now separated into several apartment blocks. 6. Tyler Hadley's house. Tyler Hadley was a 17-year-old living in Port St. Lucie, Florida at 371 Northeast Grandeur Avenue. In 2011, Tyler held his first house party. He invited over 200 teens to come to his house and do whatever they wanted as long as they didn't draw the attention of the police. In the early hours of the morning, after the party had been going for hours, he took his best friend aside and confessed that he'd murdered his parents with a hammer earlier that day. Tyler threw the bodies and all the evidence into the master bedroom, locked the door, and started inviting people to his house party through Facebook. The crime was only discovered after his friend saw the bodies and called the police. In 2015, the U.S. Bank National Association bought the empty property with the intention of reselling it. 5. Dennis Nilsen's house. Dennis Nilsen was a serial killer who terrorized London in the 70s and 80s. He would lure young men back to his house, flat 23D, Cranley Gardens, and then kill them and keep their bodies around for months. Sometimes he'd keep the corpses on the couch and watch TV with them. When Nilsen was done having his fun, he would chop them up into small pieces and flush the body parts down the toilet. Although 3 men died in the flat, it's believed that he killed at least 9 others before moving there. He almost got away with the murders, but he didn't chop the bodies into small enough pieces. The drains became clogged with rotting body parts, leading the police to discover the crimes and arrest him. In April 2015, the property was put up for sale for just £300,000. 4. The Burney House. David and Catherine Burney's reign of terror in Perth, Australia began when a young woman named Mary Nielsen came to their house at 3 Morehouse Street to buy car tires. Instead of getting a bargain, she was tied to a bed and raped. Then they stabbed and strangled her before dumping her body in a nearby forest area. That was in October 1986, and before the end of the year, 3 more victims would die in the Burney's house of torture. Their murder spree came to an end that November when they attempted to abduct a 17-year-old girl. She escaped and ran to the police, who discovered the grisly deeds the pair had committed. Their house has changed hands several times over the last 20 years. In October 2015, it went up for sale again at an asking price of $579,000. In a great location near the central business district of Perth, the house has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Homeowners just have to get past the memory of the 4 women who were brutally abused and murdered right there in one of the bedrooms. 3. The Rose Angle Murder House. The house at 2 Rose Angle in Dundee sits opposite a church and might be mistaken for a place where the local priest would live. It was actually owned by an elderly doctor and his wife. In 1980, a man named Henry John Gallagher happened on the house. With his history of attacking clergymen, he probably thought he had found another one. Gallagher broke into the house and attacked the residents with a hammer, beating them both to death. After the murders, the house was bought by the university to serve as student housing, but it's now in private hands. The owner wants to turn it into a restaurant. 2. The Betts House. This house certainly makes you wonder whether curses exist. In just a few years, the property at 9337 Columbia Boulevard in Silver Spring, Maryland was home to 3 murders. In 2002, a man named Anthony Kelly broke into the home and pistol-whipped 9-year-old Erica Smith. When she called to her father for help, she was shot and killed at point-blank range. Her father, Greg Russell, rushed into the room. Kelly shot him 6 times, then fled the house after stealing just one item: a copy of the New Testament. In 2003, Brian K. Betts, a middle school principal, bought the house. He was living there when he met 18-year-old Alante Saunders on a gay sex chat line and invited him over. Saunders arrived with 3 friends, shot Betts, and robbed the house. The house went back on the market in 2011. 1. The Edmonton Massacre House. The worst mass murder in Edmonton's history is something that most people in the area want to forget. It's particularly painful for those who live on 83 Street and knew 53-year-old Fu Lam and his family, who once lived at number 18024. On November 29, 2014, Lam shot his wife to death along with 6 of her family members and friends, all of them within the walls of the property. He continued his rampage by killing another woman on the south side of the city before heading to a Vietnamese restaurant in Fort Saskatchewan and finally killing himself. In all, he killed 9 people that day, including a 3-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy. The bank foreclosed on the 3-bedroom house, which went up for sale in August 2015 with an asking price of $365,000. The property is in a nice neighborhood, but considered too bloody by many, including some neighbors who have moved away to escape the awful memories. That's our video. Hit that button to subscribe, and as always, thank you so much for watching.